Hi everyone! As we are stepping into the new year, I wanted to make something a little more personal for those of you who watch this channel regularly. I do love creating tutorials for you, but painting is about so much more than just technique alone. And in this video I will share a small sketchbook tour, show you glimpses of a few paintings that I have not shared anywhere yet, and reflect on what this past year has taught me as an artist. If that sounds like something that you'd enjoy, make yourself comfortable and let's do this. Hello everyone! I wanted to personally tell you how grateful I am for you watching this channel, supporting me with your likes and comments. I'm incredibly uncomfortable on camera, you have no idea, but I just wanted to tell you personally how much I appreciate you being here. Every time that you watch my videos, give them a like, subscribe to my channel, or share any of my content, you are helping me so much. How do I say this? It's just incredible help. I would love to continue this work in 2026. I just like everyone during New Year's. I'm so excited to just think about what an awesome year it's gonna be. I hope that I'm gonna feel the same way about this year when it's all over. I don't know when it's ending. Today I thought I will go over a few of my sketchbooks that I completed last year, but not just sketchbooks. I want to show you works that did not fit into my sketchbook and are on separate pieces of paper. I have the absolute worst habit in starting sketchbooks and then leaving them. Not every sketchbook that I will show you today has been completed. This one is just for pencils. This small portion, shame on me, of my sketchbook is what I actually completed this year. At the start of every year, I say to myself, this is gonna be the year that I will finally draw more and draw frequently, like draw every day. Didn't really happen. I'm forced to draw whether I like it or not. For every painting I draw, and I draw a lot during live workshops because I do those a lot. There are a couple of faces. I have a board filled with references on Pinterest. When I have time to sketch, it needs to happen quickly. If I don't have my references prepared somewhere really close by, like on my phone, then I don't do it. Searching for references can take up a really long time. This page I actually really like. I did not do any sort of particular challenge. I just tried to get my hand to draw and use different strategies to see which one works for me. Kind of try to figure out the lighting in all of those references and which lines to emphasize and which to just leave as a soft shading. This page was also quite lovely, I think. That was at the start. No, that was actually the end of 2024. I did not show you these sketches, I think. I didn't. So now looking at these sketches, I know I need to practice expressions a lot more. Smiles, the teeth, children's faces, which some of you asked me to do a tutorial about. But I need to practice them a bit more to be able to do that. Here is a friend of mine that I sketched live, but most of these are studies from Pinterest. These are a few studies as I was trying to figure out how I want to approach a couple of tutorials that I made for my YouTube channel this year. This was just a mishmash of things when I realized that I do not have to only draw human faces, that I can and I want to incorporate different elements just for the sake of practice. This sketch I did not do. This was a sketch that Eudes did. I'm gonna link his work down below. He's an amazing watercolor portrait painter, not just portraits, he does a lot of landscapes too. I was hosting his workshop in my studio about a year ago and he was testing a pencil in my sketchbook. This was also his sketch of his wife. These are my faces. I'm just gonna quickly flip through the sketchbook. These were probably 3-minute studies, very fast, very loose. This is the exercise that I did for the tutorial that you can find here on YouTube about how to construct a human face. It's very important for me to also talk about the drawing aspect. Many people think that watercolor portraits need to be done in a way that excludes drawing for some reason. This was also for the same tutorial where I explained facial features in detail. Practicing angles of the face, which are so incredibly difficult. If you practice, draw maybe 2 or 3 heads like this per day, then your hand gets used to the movement. It's pretty easy to do, but when I skip 2 weeks, then it gets so difficult. Like today is 1st January and I did not sketch for maybe more than a week. I could not do a sketch like this. I would have to go through a warm-up first. More angles of the face. Some are more successful than others. I still tend to do excessive amount of lines, and sometimes I get confused about the direction in which you should be doing the hatching. So that's why I think the drawing exercises are incredibly good for me, even though I paint most of the time. This is my grandfather who passed this year. This is my friend's mom. She photographed her for me in a traditional Slovak costume, and I painted her for festival in Spain. There are some more sketches. These are mostly my friends. This is a student of mine. This is another friend who's also a great watercolor painter. My father-in-law and my daughter. Then I sketched more of my art friends. This is one of the really gorgeous girls that come to my class, and I ask them to pose for me for a little bit. I like this double page. Maybe that's because it gets personal when you sketch people that you know, but it's also all the more hard to get the facial features correct. So I forgot I had this. This was me trying to test out a few ideas for a book cover that I did this year for my mom, who was publishing a translation of the book. And this was the final book cover that I painted from these ideas. Just a couple of studies that I think I did this during workshop, more like sketches. During workshop, I sometimes use my sketchbook instead of clean paper, and that's the end of what I achieved this year when it comes to drawing. This is a sketch that my daughter created. She stole my sketchbook and did this beautiful drawing into it. Here is where I am currently, and I'm gonna continue with this one in 2026. I do have a completed sketchbook that's a watercolor one here. I started this earlier than 2025. I think I started a year before that, but it was only a couple of pages. There are more than just portraits, there's filled with different stuff. What I noticed when I'm filling these sketchbooks is that sometimes I leave some spaces that are blank. When I'm close to finishing the sketchbook, I come back and try to fill them up, but that kind of also changes how the sketchbook progresses technically. And this one was also one of those things that I did backwards. I did this one at the end when the sketchbook was finished. I like this sketch even though it's not technically very nice. You might remember this one. I don't know when I painted this, but it must have been 2 or 3 years ago. And the real-time demo of this is somewhere on my YouTube channel. You have to search in the playlists that I have on YouTube because I have so many videos that I unpublished, so you can't really find them unless you go into my playlists, those older ones that I no longer want anyone to see. I think I made it into a Patreon tutorial also. I quite like this sketch, but I would like to maybe repaint it with my newer approach that's a bit more free. Now I do backgrounds that are much more chaotic than this. Is very precise. I never made a large painting out of this, and I intended to. What I usually use the sketchbook for is to visualize how my large painting is going to look like. This was an idea that I had, maybe then I just did not have time to create the actual final piece, but this was a lovely one. This one is also a visualization for a large painting. I don't know sometimes why am I sketching to visualize, because when I'm about to create the final piece, I change everything that I visualized here and change the colors completely. The final piece turned out very different than these two, but it also allowed me to rethink everything about the piece before I messed up a larger surface. This was a thumbnail for a large painting of a lion. The large piece is now in a gallery. Here we have the empty pages that are killing me when I get back. I don't like this. Feels like such a wasted space. But if I go back now and create a painting here or a sketch, then it feels out of place. So I decided to leave this basically unfinished. continue very basic watercolor exercises. I created this 7-day challenge for everyone who's just starting out, explaining watercolor basics from the simple idea of how to hold a brush, how to do different brush strokes, how water and color works. You can find the entire challenge up on both my Patreon and Skillshare. It is linked always in the description of these videos. You can actually purchase the challenge from my Patreon as a standalone. You don't have to buy a membership. I started to warm up for the first few days with incredibly easy and relaxing exercises like the peonies and the ice cream. Then we painted the toucan, which already included some basic sketching, a very short lecture about the shapes and how to put them together to create something like this. This was a fun one. And then there's a shading exercise, the pears demo, and botanical exercise. Botanical paintings I no longer publish on my YouTube channel, but in 2026 I hope that changes because I love to paint those. Not everybody likes flowers, but for me it is beyond the subject of flowers. They're incredibly challenging subject. It is just so difficult to capture the light and shadow and the overall structure of a complicated floral. I find them one of the most intriguing component to paint, and I often combine it with portraits. This was a more simple approach, more simple demo, but I think people liked it, and since it was day 5 of the challenge, they already felt warmed up to be able to tackle this one. This was very simple. It was mushroom demo with masking fluid, and then the final day of the entire challenge were these red parrots with some background elements, basically showing how to place colors next to one another and how to create shading in such objects. Was also interesting when it comes to watercolor techniques and how to apply them. So this was like a core of this sketchbook. Maybe I did not mention that this sketchbook contains 100% cotton paper, this Fabriano paper. The sketches turn out really well on this kind of sketchbook. I will link it for you down below. And then these are explorations for potential floral paintings. I love this one, still did not do a final piece. This one did not work out for me, but it was an idea that I was working on. And then this one was very successful one. I loved this idea, and it was maybe a 20-minute sketch, and I created a large painting out of this sketch, which the final painting is at a gallery currently. Here was during stylization workshop where we put floral elements with the portrait and tried to figure out how to arrange them, style them, what color combinations could work for it. Also, there was a large piece created out of this sketch, but I didn't like it. That one I destroyed. I don't know why, but I did not notice that I was painting these two upside down. I only noticed once they were finished, but yeah. This was one curiosity in this sketchbook. I loved both of them. This is a very simple but one of my favorite color palettes when you use smooth pinky, very transparent watercolor with some orange undertones, and then use dark and granulating pigment for the background or accents. There was a large painting created out of this one. The large piece I did not like very much, but I want to give another go for both of these because these are beautiful sketches. I like them very much. So, upside down, my friends. I just used this spread to visualize some floral compositions and mix some skin tones. Nothing special about this one. This was a preparation for one of my paintings that is here on YouTube. That means a lot to create a small sketch that takes me 20 minutes to find out whether my color combinations are working or the composition of the background with the face. And here was a representation of all the color combinations that I then used in the final piece. Sketchbooks for watercolor, insanely helpful. Sketchbooks for drawing is more like use them for practice, but here I literally research my ideas and find if they work. If it's even worth to use up my watercolor canvases for this, because it's just so much work to prepare a watercolor canvas. Did this during workshop. I have an advanced portrait workshop where we have more time with the people attending the class to do some studies of the facial features, close-ups, and only focus on noses and lips We did not do eyes because that we did not have much time for, but I was pretty proud of some of these. Here is actually a day 8 of the 7-day watercolor challenge. This is a bonus lesson that I created 1 year after the original challenge was published. And then this is the final page of the watercolor sketchbook. This one was also very quick. I think it was 20-minute sketch. This is my daughter when she was younger. I took a photo of her, arranged a lot of flowers. I used that composition that I created years ago to paint a piece that I sent to one of the watercolor festivals. Still don't know if the piece is going to get picked for the exhibition or not. This is the larger piece I showed you in the skin tones video already. And I love how it turns out, but I would be very nervous to do all of these color combinations without this sketch. So the sketch is absolutely necessary for me. And I think in 2026 I'm gonna run out of watercolor sketchbooks a bit more frequently, because this year finally I think I got my own process down about how to use the sketchbook and what is it for. That's the sketchbook. I have a couple of loose sketches and artworks that I would like to show you. This one was created during a workshop 2 years ago. I used it this year to create a more elaborate piece out of this reference photo. I think I love the sketch more than the final piece in this case. It does not have so much contrast, but I like the freshness. I created a bunch of sketches for stylized portraits. I created these two at the same time. I did final piece that was based on this one but with different colors. I still like the color combination and I still like this sketch too. So maybe this year I will create a final piece from this one as well, because I like it very much. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your opinion. This is I would also call it a sketch. It was just a watercolor exercise in monochrome that you saw me painting here as a real-time video on YouTube a couple of months ago. This was not such a great painting, but I still used it to show you a lot of mistakes that I made. And if you want to see what I did wrong, how I tried to fix it, then you can go find that video on my channel. And then there's a couple of more pieces. This one I have a full video about that includes drawing, painting, measuring proportions, watercolor techniques. It is a full class here on YouTube. It was a portrait of one of my followers from Instagram and I still love it. I kept it aside. This year I also did a monochrome portrait challenge that took 7 days. It is available both on Skillshare and my Patreon. On Patreon you can purchase just the challenge. You don't have to have membership. If you want to only do one challenge with me, then that's available through Patreon. This was one of my favorite portraits from that challenge. This was a demo that I did during one of my workshops. I still find this painting unfinished. It's a portrait of Jane-Beata. I did another one, which I need to create a video about because that one I love a bit more. This was more quick work, but there's plenty of portraits that I don't finish and I don't like and I don't have problems cutting them into pieces. This one I could not find courage to cut it, so I guess I'm gonna work on it a bit more. Maybe I can save it. What I mainly don't like is not the face, it's just the color combination. I don't like green and blue together. Here is a portrait that I did this year. Actually, this is a print because the original was already sold, but I just wanted to show you because I did not record the process of that one, and yet it's one of my more favorite pieces of this year. If you ask me where I think my work is going in 2026, I'm going to be wanting to do a lot more of these stylized works, exploring color combinations and be a bit more expressive in the way I paint. Similar in style was this one. Also, this is a print and not the original, since the original is in a gallery in Bratislava, here in Slovakia. Gosh, these two works are like my favorite works of 2025. I had to show them in this video. The process of this one is somewhere on my YouTube channel and coming to Patreon as well. I have floral artworks because I love to paint them, even though I don't really show them here on my YouTube channel. I love to be more expressive with florals, and they are very hard and they make me work harder than portraits. I would like to hear your opinion about whether you would welcome such topic on this YouTube channel and to go beyond portraits. And lastly, I want to show you a new sketchbook for 2026. Hopefully in a year, all of this will be filled with beautiful watercolor sketches or bad watercolor sketches, but I just want to finally be consistent at something. That would be great achievement for me. The sketchbook was sent to me by Etcher. Already did a few color swatches, and this was my trial hot press sketch that I did, I think in the summer or something like that, but I did not like the sketch, so I didn't publish it. And then I did a couple of pencil sketches that I intend to color with watercolor or with gouache, I don't know yet, but probably just watercolor. Hopefully I will be able to finish this one within a year. Anyway, one more time, thank you so much for your support, and I will see you in my next video. There's going to be a new real-time demo that you can paint along, and you can download my sketches for that and everything. So I will see you again soon.